The Jubilee Party in general, getting support from two people who have been presidential candidates in the past. But the question remains, should Kenneth and Karua dissolve their parties, Kenya National Congress and NAK Kenya party respectively, and join the Jubilee? This has been the clamor by a section of leaders in the Jubilee Party, as you've seen, who say that that would be the only way the two leaders would demonstrate their absolute support for the president and his deputy. What are your thoughts? Talk to us, text us on 22422, and on Twitter using the hashtag GamePlan2017. Our guest tonight, nominated MP Johnson Sakaja and Javas Bigambo, our political analyst. Let's start with Kenneth. I'll start with you, Sakaja.
Yes.
There were concerns, obviously, coming from Ruto allies, whether he's going to spoil the party and the agreement for 2022. He's saying it very well today. He wanted to make himself clear that he's not coming to destroy any plans that were there. First, do you think it's assuring enough, or is it reassuring to these Ruto allies?
I think the concerns that had been raised by allies were, they're very preemptive. And, just because somebody was a presidential candidate doesn't mean they have those ambitions, moving forward. I think they were preemptive and they wanted such a response from Honorable Peter Kenneth. The calculation on who's the candidates in 2017 within Jubilee, for us within Jubilee is very clear. And I don't think that we see any threat.
And 2022 as well.
And 2022 as well.
Okay.
And we don't see any threat from anyone coming in.
Well,
of course, within Jubilee, anyone is free to also say that they want to vie for position, but we have our preferred position as it is, unless circumstances change. But we're very clear that our candidate in 2022 will be the deputy president.
They were preemptive, meaning they were wrong to think like that?
It was a premature thing.
So is it wrong or right?
It's premature because the person they are saying has intentions to vie in 2022 has not said as much. So those are premature concerns.
Javas, are those concerns legitimate? Should there be such concerns? Or?
Well, first, a politician without ambition is doomed and has no business in staying or sticking in the political career. When you look at deeply the remarks of Peter Kenneth, then you realize that it's calibrated with some insincerity. When he says that he wants to assure the Jubilee supporters, yet he's joining Jubilee, he needs the support of the Jubilee supporters. And he needs to be part and parcel of the Jubilee team, which means that with that fusion, it comes with the support of the Jubilee supporters. And there is no way he can dissociate himself from the interests or the concerns or the worries or the fears of anybody in Jubilee, if at all he has to be part of that family. Now, as a matter of fact, we know very well that he was a presidential candidate in the last election. Much as it is not clear that he wants to be a candidate in perpetuity in every election cycle, but of course it can't be nearly anybody's guess that he harbors some ambition. And as a matter of fact, I think while he's come out to try and clear the air, that may not necessarily be calming enough, because as a matter of fact, we know very well that age is on his side, time seems to be on his side, and in the end, while we may not want to discuss the issues of the 2022 election right now because there's the 2017 election cycle here, it is anybody's guess that his ambition may drive him. But one thing, I think
what's clear, for now, because 2017 is here, Peter Kenneth is one of my opponents within Jubilee for the Nairobi seat, and that's why the focus is.
You believe it?
He is
inevitable.
He is vying in Nairobi.
You know that for a fact.
It's a fact.
Okay.
And I think that's where
he's told you that?
He is vying in Nairobi, and he will announce it for himself.
Okay.
But you will call me and prove me right. And I think that's where the focus really is. 2022 is a bit far off, and for us we are clear. There might be other people who come up with ambitions, saying they want to vie. We're very clear that the agenda of Jubilee that is being executed by the president and his deputy, the person best placed to take it up from there will be the deputy, because the agenda cannot be cleared in 10 years. It's an agenda that will take 20, 30 years. And after Deputy President William Ruto, you never know. Some of us will also be of age.
I do want to get into this. This is just very briefly. I do want to get it, but does it worry you or concern you that is going to vie for Nairobi?
No, it
You're
doesn't.
also interested in Nairobi City?
Yes, I'm vying for Nairobi. I want to be the governor of Nairobi. And for many reasons we've discussed here. For me, it is good for Jubilee supporters, because what we are doing is that we are adding, the number of people from which they can choose. Nairobi deserves transformation. It deserves the best candidate for governorship, and the more the choices, the better. What we are clear about in Jubilee is that we'll have one candidate, and we'll all move together as a team.
Should they then, starting with Kenneth, dissolve the party?
Yes.
Kenya National Congress.
What we have said as Jubilee is that, first of all, the formation of Jubilee, was brought about by the realization and the aspiration for us to change the political landscape in terms of the fact that when those who fought for multi-party democracy fought for it, they did not fight for it to create ethnic Balkans and parties so that every community has a political party. Any individual who does not want to go through a nomination has a party and a certificate in the bag. But parties that can be driven by ideology, parties that can be driven by something bigger than just ethnic positioning. And so that is why we convinced more than 14 political parties to come together to form Jubilee. So as it is today, Jubilee is not entering into any pre-election coalition with any parties. Jubilee is a party. You cannot be a corporate member of a political party from your other party. So we're telling them, first of all, we appreciate Peter Kenneth and Martha Karua having pledged support for the president. We appreciate that, and we thank them, and we are telling them to come on board.
Did they have a choice? Do you think they had a choice?
Of course they had a choice, the same way they had a choice in 2013.
13 years.
They had a choice. So we're saying thank you for coming, but now that you have come, this is how we operate within Jubilee.
I'm asking that because when Martha Karua said, I have talked to my people and I see they want to vote for Uhuru Kenyatta.
Yes.
And then she says, let them go ahead and vote for Uhuru Kenyatta, but they can vote for me as the governor of Kirinyaga, and they'll also field candidates. Kenya will field candidates in Kirinyaga.
Yes.
Does that talk about ethnicity in any way? That it is inevitable that whatever happens in Kirinyaga, she knows that whatever happens, they will vote for Kenyatta? It
may not be ethnicity, probably it's awareness, because if she spoke to the same people in 2013, they'd have told her the same thing, that they want to vote for Kenyatta. Because they did.
Well, I think it is a question of the congruence and confluence of subordinate and superordinate political interests here. And that's why, and that's what has informed even some of these smaller parties, or these other parties, that have come to join with the superordinate interests of the initial TNA and URP, which of course are the big brothers in this kind of arrangement. As a matter of fact, we know very well that we cannot be oblivious of the ethnic arithmetic in the political psyche of any politician and in the Kenyan political processes. And as a matter of fact, we know very well that while Martha Karua and Peter Kenneth have revised their ambitions and political interests for the moment, that is why they have gone for seats that are junior to the presidency.
Why do you think they've done that?
Well, of course, I think they have brought themselves or driven themselves to appreciate the reality that they are facing today. As a matter of fact, they know pretty well that if they were to seek the mandate of the electorate for the presidency, or to contest the presidency in 2017, the odds are against them.
But they,
overwhelmingly so.
Both of them have spoken as late as this year.
Yes.
Months ago, they've spoken against the Jubilee coalition, government generally, and how the government has been running, especially on corruption. So what do you think has changed? What is it
first,
for them?
Maybe they spoke too early. And secondly, the reality of the politics that they face and they are in is what has led them to revise all this. But then again, they've brought themselves to a point where we must say it was a foot in the mouth. And this does not necessarily work well for them. Looking at the kind of politics, for instance, that Martha Karua has been playing since the time of her entry into politics, she has never sidestepped or backtracked whatever she has said. But here, of course, she has come out strongly to say that she will support President Kenyatta, whom she has voiced against in the past. In fact, even just recently.
Yeah.
And that's why she has even faced an avalanche of attacks from her initial allies in the Quad Coalition. And that's the same thing that...
So do you think they've done it because they've seen some very good values in the Jubilee coalition or in President Kenyatta? Or why have they done?
It is not an interesting thing to be in Siberia or in the most cold parts. Being out of power...
I think they've seen what is going on. and we must not be shocked when there are realignments politically. His Excellency the President and the Deputy President were never in the same party just a few years ago. Some of the worst accusations against Raila Odinga used to come from Kalonzo Musyoka, and even the tag watermelon on Kalonzo Musyoka came from Raila Odinga. But politics changes, and people then either get in touch with the reality or get in touch with what is happening on the ground, and that's the decision they have made. Article 38 of our constitution gives everyone civil and political rights to form a party, to associate with any political party that exists, and I think there's nothing wrong with them exercising that right. Let's not read too much into it. But what we're telling Martha Karua, Peter Kenneth, is that welcome to Jubilee. It is a party. It is not a coalition. Since it is a party, dissolve your party kindly and join us, because of the same reason that we're saying we're coming together, the same reason that made Eugene Wamalwa dissolve New Ford Kenya, Gachagua dissolve GNU. We don't have to come, vie for the position, and again field candidates in constituencies and for MCA. We will treat all of those NAC Kenya candidates the same way we would treat an ODM candidate, the same way we would treat a Ford Kenya candidate, because we're in opposition with them, we're competing. And if you believe in the ideals of Uhuru Kenyatta and William Ruto, and you've joined Jubilee because you believe in those ideals, then you cannot choose which ideals to believe in and which ones not to. Then you believe in the ideal of creating unity in this country by forming a political party that surpasses and transcends those very, those myopic interests of either ethnicity or just personal aggrandizement by saying, I have my party, so I have my ticket. I'm not going to a nomination for governor against Waiguru and Dadi and the rest, or I'm not going to come face Sakaja in a nomination in Nairobi. Let me come into Jubilee and let's move together.
Well, of course, Martha is on record saying that she will vie on Kenya.
They'll fill candidates.
Perhaps it may work well for Jubilee if it creates a coalition of the willing, the Jubilee Party now, with possibly some of these parties that want to be associated with them. It may not, I don't know where Jubilee and as Honorable Sakaja says, wants to compel all those who are supporting Jubilee to fold up and join their parties and join them. I think they could, in a way, understand the interest of these other parties, and then by that interest, form the coalition of the willing.
But let me ask you a question. If Martha Karua in a party, or whichever party, believes in the exact same things that Jubilee believes in, has the same vision that Jubilee has, why are you in different parties? Why would you be in a different party if you believe in what you believe in?
There are a number of things that maybe they could lead them not to join Jubilee. One, there is the fear of the unknown when you fold that which you had to join a new entity. And then, of course, when you're joining a new political entity, or now when you're joining Jubilee Party, there are all these new social and political realities that you've got to face, where now you need to find or to adapt to the new political environment and the new the realignment and the unitary structure, for example, that now exists within Jubilee. And some of them, of course, because of the interest that they have, the positions they have held, then they'll feel that they do not have a support base except to yield to the support base of the Jubilee team and its support.
So you're just adding to my point.
But she has not. We haven't had her on record or anything saying that she believes in everything Jubilee does. She just said. She's just saying.
She has a right.
She has a right. She has a right, of course. But she said the people here have told me they're going to vote for Kenyatta.
Yes.
So they can go ahead and vote for Kenyatta, but I'll vie on a Kenya ticket. I'll fill candidates, all other
I think
parts of the country.
She has
and it's not only like Kenya.
Yeah.
It's not only like Kenya. Kanu has said the same thing now. PNU also saying the same thing. Peter Munya saying clearly they'll support Uhuru Kenyatta.
Yeah.
You're saying all these parties, if they decide, okay, there's nothing you can do to them if they decide.
No, they have a right.
Yeah.
And Jubilee is for the willing. No one is forcing you to come into Jubilee. What you're saying is that if you look at the legislative framework today, it's very different from how it was before 2013 election. There are only two arrangements that operate. One, you're in a pre-election coalition agreement with another political party, or a post-election agreement. Now, if you look at Section 14 of the Political Parties Act, it says that if you, purport to or you're seen to push for the interest of another political party, then you're deemed to have resigned from your own party. So in the absence of a coalition agreement between us and any of those parties, then a clear reading of the law puts them in a legal dilemma, because they're not actually supposed to be doing that. We welcome their support, but I think let's do it within, of course, the rule of law as well.
But if they don't want to, there's nothing much that can happen.
And many will want to, take advantage of, in the eventuality that there's a fallout at the nomination, field candidates, compete with Jubilee, and we've seen that script over and over again. So we're thanking them for the support. We're telling them, please join us. Come, since you believe in what we believe in. But we will not allow the name of the president and the deputy to be used for political advancement of individuals who are very easily going to go and just tell wananchi hakuna tofauti between us and Jubilee. Vote for me, vote for Uhuru.
Factually speaking, the clarity of Section 14 of the Political Parties Act cannot be emphasized. But then now, with that reality, that political reality, Martha Karua and Peter Kenneth find themselves in a catch-22 situation, a political quagmire of sorts. Because in the end, they will find themselves vehemently supporting or campaigning for President Kenyatta during the campaign. and which means that they'll want to align even the agenda as governor at the time when on the campaign to those of the Jubilee Party, and that's why.
Is that legally allowed?
It's not legally allowed, and that's why there is absence of wisdom and good sense and judgment when you want to support, say, the main party here being Jubilee, and then you want to retain this small other platform.
In English, we say you want to have your cake
and eat it. but it's legal to say vote for whoever you want as president, but vote for me as...
You can say vote for whoever you want. That is legal. That is legal. But it's illegal
and that can
to push for a specific candidate in another party. The law does not allow you to do that.
That has happened before, and in many people thinking that is what's going to happen. Vote for whoever you want as president.
Now, and that's the problem when you look at our laws as mere suggestions.
So, as Jubilee then, because you cannot compel these parties to fold.
And we will not.
And you will not. So what happens if they're not going to fold and they'll still go on?
No, as I've said, one, we appreciate the support. Secondly, they have a right to exist, according to the law. This is a multi-party democracy. But we will only, deal with them in the same way that we will deal with opposing parties. In the same way that we will deal with ODM in Kirinyaga, of course.
You're going to campaign against them?
Yes, because we're in different parties. Different interests.
Does this mean then, later on, whatever happens, whether Jubilee will form the next government or not, Jubilee Party can never have even post-election coalitions?
It can. And if you look at post-election coalitions, which are dominantly in parliamentary democracies, like the UK, and many other countries, once you get into government or after the election, you assess the situation. Many times you find that you have a hung parliament and you're not able to proceed without getting other parties involved. Of course, at that point, those decisions will be made after the election. But you're saying, and I know that the move Jubilee has taken, many analysts will argue and say, it has a political cost, there'll be fallouts. But what they're saying is that this is the best thing for our country. Every community in this country says it has a political party. If I ask you which party Kamba's in, or Kikuyu's in, or Luo's in, you'll automatically say that. That was not the dream of Shikuku. That was the dream of Muite, Orengo, even Raila and Imanyara and Muite when they fought for multi-party democracy. And we're saying that we can actually bear the political cost to unite this country politically as much as we can. And we're urging our brothers in court as well to do the same. Because it doesn't make sense for you to be in Wiper, ODM, and Fort Kenya. You believe in the same thing. You're standing on one manifesto, but you cannot be able to sit in one house. Then it's actually hypocritical. It goes against itself. Right.
The counter can be argued, Honorable Sakaja, when it comes to Kenya's political fabric, and he's talked about it.
And that is what
being
we must
driven by ethnicity.
Yes.
And regional parties.
Hussein,
that can also be argued.
The politics of this country has been driven by ethnicity for many years.
And it's still the case.
But my generation, you and I are the same age. I think the three of us are around the same age. We must decide to look at Kenya, not in terms of how it has always been, but in terms of how it must be.
Right.
Every generation comes with its cause and must play out its cause.
Fair enough.
And there'll be political cost, but you can't say it's always been like this. So let's keep doing it that way.
That's fair enough. But I agree with that. But where you stand today, as Sakaja, as Jubilee, there's already a place is your bedrock for votes in 2017. Why?
Because of the patterns that have been there. Even Hillary Clinton, knew she knew she'll get votes from California. She knew the Hispanics will vote in a certain way, the blacks will vote in a certain way. But politics, as I keep saying, Cicero said more than 2,000 years ago, is the art of the possible, not the battleground of absolutes.
It's the same ethnic votes that you're talking about, isn't it?
Yes.
That is what you're looking for.
No, that's not what we're looking for. In fact, if you look at
I'm not saying that's what you're looking for, but you already know where you're going to get your votes, your bedrock of votes.
Everybody knows. I mean, even me in Nairobi, I know where I'll get a lot of the votes.
Okay.
But then you must, as a leader, because you must either be a leader or an aspirant.
All right.
Or somebody aspiring to get a seat. If you're aspiring to get a seat, all you'll do is make tribal calculations. But if you're a leader who believes in the story of Kenya, then you will do whatever you can, even as you look for votes, to unite this country today. And that is what we're doing as Jubilee.
Right, and we hope that works, whether it's Jubilee or CORD or whoever.
I think we should all
whoever achieves that, it will be a good thing for this country.
Yes.
Finally, and I want you to respond to this, you'll also get to respond to that. Jubilee Party has postponed naming of its officials until after 2017. Many have said this was just a clear move to, stemming a fallout. Do you think that this works, and going to the nominations, this will work for them?
Well, you see,
why do you think they've actually done that?
When parties merge and then they have one single platform, large platform, there are all these new realities that they've got to face. Remember that some have got the hang-on of power that they had in the initial parties, from the initial parties, where they held various party positions, and they want to come into a new merger with the same claim of holding similar or even better positions. But you see, the moment you fold up and come to a new platform through the merger, then you need even to give up the power and the, all the interests that they had, and come and find yourselves in the new realities, and then align yourself with that new reality. Well, of course, Jubilee here then has got to be extremely careful by making sure that this melting pot of individuals' ambitions and aspirations and visions even of all those former parties does not get to have prolonged bickering because of all these interests for party positions that many are could be clamoring for. And I think to avert that, you may find that Jubilee Party then finds in its wisdom a mechanism that will try to avert a possible fallout, not necessarily a huge fallout, but also to find or to create, through housekeeping, proper housekeeping, a mechanism where all these former entities get to work together as a family of that party.
Okay. Sakari.
No, I think what I said is true. There are a lot of interests when you go through such a process. Remember, these are 14 parties. 14 parties are officials, and many of them would have wanted, to find a place. What we've been able to demonstrate is that there's space for everybody, and that Jubilee is not about individuals holding individual positions, but all of us together pushing a certain agenda. And 90 days after the election, we'll go into an election of officials after that. For us right now, the agenda and the focus is this coming election. We don't want to mix that issue with who becomes chairman, who becomes secretary general, etc. Let us go into the election. We have interim officials there already. We have a campaign team. There are certain concerns that we've had, and they are being addressed. In certain counties, they want better representation. There are issues with certain individuals. So that is going on. And,
so
and we are focusing on what we must focus on.
Fair enough. Were they right then, or have they been right in accusing other parties or coalitions, ODM, for example, or CORD, for not doing accusing them during party elections, accusing them of doing it the right way?
Well, and accuse them of violence. Well, I think, of course, there's been the violence issue, and I think each party that has attempted to beat this path has found itself in nearly a similar position. And I think if you look at Jubilee, maybe what it has tried to do differently is now to postpone all this party naming, or party officials naming. But when you look at what happened, for example, in the United Kingdom in 1988 by the merge of the Liberal Democrats, and what happened in France, for example, in 2002 by the merger of the UPM institutions, then you realize that all these challenges are not unique to parties in Kenya or parties in Africa, like the way it happened in Nigeria. So I think these are challenges that are normal in political merger processes. Okay,
keep talking to us. Text us #244 on Twitter using the hashtag GamePlan 2017. Johnson Sakaja, nominated MP, and of course, political analyst Javas Pigambo. Thank you so much for making time for us.
As always, thank you.
We'll be back after this break.
Okay.